Never forget. You know, I was 18 when 9/11 happened in my geometry class in high school, senior year, and seriously, overnight, my entire, the entire, generation, the entire world changed. And it's something we're still trying to get over and whatnot. And this is, subscribe to Architects and Engineers for Now 11Truth, their YouTube channel, and the University of these study funds. Fire did not bring down the World Trade Center, Building 7 on 9/11, and this is from September 3rd, 2019. So just kind of go over this briefly. September 11, 2001 at 5:20 p.m., the 47-story World Trade Center Building 7 collapsed into its footprint, falling more than 100 feet at the rate of gravity for 2.5 seconds of its 7-second destruction. Collapsing its own footprint, falling more than 100 feet at the rate of gravity for 2.5 seconds. That basically means that it reached terminal velocity for 2.5 seconds of the 7 seconds. Today, we are at Architects Engineers for 9/11Truth are pleased to partner with the University of Alaska Fairbanks in releasing the draft report of a 4-year computer modeling study of World Trade Center 7's collapse conducted by researchers in the university's Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering. The release of the draft report begins a 2-month period during which is invited to submit comments. The final report will be published later this year. We invite you to report and watch Dr. Leroy Halsey's September 3rd presentation at the UAF campus, where he first announced his team's findings. So the reason why this is so important is because they're trying to say that fire caused the buildings to collapse, and that's just a blatant lie, and basically they're messing with science, and essentially, because if fire really did destroy these buildings, then a lot of buildings would have to be condemned because they're at such high risk of failure. And so these lies create freaking unnecessary building codes, possibly. So let's just she's pleased to download the report. Okay, so please enter your name and email address to download the draft report. This will sign you up to receive email updates from Architects Engineering for 9/11Truth. If you are not already signed up, you will be able to unsubscribe at any time. After submitting this form, you'll be taken to an exclusive page where you'll be able to download the report. After 24 hours, the download button will expire. So let me just go ahead and pause this. Thank you for downloading the University of Alaska in Fairbanks. Is that what it is? Of Fairbanks? Please click the button below to download the file. Note this button will expire after 24 hours. Alright, so how many pages is this? Oh, wow. This is pretty extensive. Alright, so this report presents the findings and conclusions of a 4-year study of the collapse of the World Trade Center Building 7, a 47 building that suffered a total collapse at 5:20 p.m. on September 11, 2001, following the horrible events of that morning. The objective of the study was threefold: examine the structural response of World Trade Center 7 to fire loads that may have occurred on September 11, 2001, rule out scenarios that could not have caused the observed collapse, and identify types of failures and their locations that may have caused the total collapse to occur as observed. Because that's the thing, is that these crooked politicians that create this terrorist act didn't realize that there's people that are actually, really involved in, care for the truth, and and it's like, oh, so you're basically saying that all my years of becoming an architect just went out the window, says architectural graduate with $120,000 in student loans, and and then all of a sudden, because this person is saying like, hey, there's something wrong here, well, they become a truther and they lose everything that they have, and they end up becoming junkies, drunks, rapists, and suicide and murders and all that crap. So the University research team utilized three approaches for examining the structural response of World Trade Center 7 to the conditions that may have occurred on September. First, we simulate the local structural response to fire loading, that may have occurred below 413, when most of the fires at World Trade Center 7 are reported to have occurred. Second, we supplemented our own simulation by examining the collapse initiation hypothesis developed by the National Institute of Standards and Technology, NIST. Third, we simulated a number of scenarios within the overall structural system in order to determine what types of failures and their locations may have caused the total collapse to be observed. The principal conclusions of our study is that fire did not cause the collapse of World Trade Center 7 on 9/11. Contrary to the conclusions, NIST and private engineering firms that study the collapse involving the near simultaneous failure of every column in the building. So, let me peruse this a little bit. Let's go through the table of contents. Person examining, chapter. Let me just go to the conclusion. Let's go to 111. Oops. In summary, several findings were made from the analysis above. Columns 79, 80, and 81 did not fail at the lower floors of the building. Instead, they needed to have failed at the upper floors of the building all the way to the penthouse. Yet, there were no documented fires above floor 30. Therefore, fire did not cause the collapse of columns 79, 80, and 81, nor the collapse of the east penthouse. The hypothetical failure of columns 79, 80, and 81, the three easternmost core columns, would not trigger a horizontal progression of core column failures. Therefore, the hypothesis of NIST, Eric Nordinson and Walter, that the buckling of column 79 would have triggered a progressive collapse of the entire building are invalid, and the collapse of columns 79, 80, and 81 in the building was separate and distinct event. Even if we assume the failure of 79, 80, and 81 could lead to failure of the next row of columns, the hypothetical failure of columns 76 to 81 would overload the exterior columns around the southeast corner of the building, rather than overloading the next row of core columns to the west, which would result in the building tipping to the southwest or southeast and not straight down collapse. The hypothetical simultaneous failure of all core columns would cause the building to tip to the southwest and would not cause a straight down collapse. 5. The simultaneous failure of all core columns over 8 stories followed 1.3 seconds later by the simultaneous failure of all exterior columns over 8 stories produces almost exactly the behavior observed in videos of the collapse. The collapse could have been started at various floors, starting at floor 16 and below, and produced the same behavior. It is our conclusion that the collapse of World Trade Center 7 was a global failure involving the near simultaneous failure of all columns in the building, and not a progressive collapse involving the sequential failures of columns throughout the building. Despite simulating a number of hypothetical scenarios, we are unable to identify any progressive sequence of failures that could have taken place on September 11, 2001, and caused a total collapse of the building, let alone observed straight down collapse with approximately 2.5 seconds of free fall and minimal differential movement of the exterior. So, is this proof of explosions? No. Is it proof that explosions didn't occur? No. The summary is that fire did not cause the building to collapse. Something else did. And this is why it takes so long to do research, especially when they cleaned up the World Trade Center, the entire World Trade Center relatively fast for such a heinous crime scene. And during that haste, they were able to find passports and this, that, and the other. So, there's people like us, like these are people that I follow for 11Truth. None of these, people that, claim everything's a false flag and this, that, and the other. It's, I do research and, and so, through, all these pages and such, this is the nerding out. That's why I read the first page, the first little bit and the last little bit, and kind of go from there. But I want to look into this more. So, but yeah, take care, be safe, be kind, stay strong. I love you all, and let's just love each other, people. That's all we need to do, is just love each other. It'd be great. Freaking all this hate and everything. Who cares that there's an orange man as president? No different from any other president. They're all bought and sold and this, that, and the other. So, alright. Just try to be a good person. Love you.